father cannot maneuver over his family to unloosen the bolt that protects him from the outside, and so he decides whatever the need outside is, it's going to have to either wait until the morning, or the one who is knocking will have to search for a different house on this night. In the quiet of the night, he faintly says to the man outside his front door, "Friend, it's midnight and I am asleep and my family is asleep, and I don't want to climb over them to let you in." But the knock persists. And because it's a friend who is knocking, who knows that his friend is home, he not only knocks, but he speaks from the other side of this locked door. "I need 3 loaves of bread. A friend on a journey has come to my place, and I don't have enough to feed him." And when the door still does not open, this man outside knocks yet again, until finally we're told the door opens and the bread is given. Jesus shares this parable to teach really one salient point about prayer specifically, but he also shares it to teach something about human pursuit more generally. Please notice with me that it was not the midnight knock that made the sleeping man struggle over and around his spouse and kids, risking waking them so late to answer the door. It wasn't his commitment to the communal ethic of hospitality that so strongly fed relational exchanges of people in biblical antiquity. It wasn't even his connection to his friend and their perhaps unique bond that made him get up, though clearly it was his friend's bond to him as a homeowner that had him outside that night, it appears, trusting that if he knocks, his friend would not let him down. Jesus says this sleeping husband and father gets up and delicately dances around his family and unbolts the door for one reason and one reason only: the persistence of his friend. He opens the door because his friend just would not stop knocking. And Jesus teaches that this is precisely how you and I ought to approach our prayer lives. Our relationship to God puts us at the door, so to speak, of God-housed opportunities, God-supplied provisions. And our relationship with God is why we are at his door and not knocking at another. We knock at his door because we believe him to be home. We trust him to be responsive. We need him to be generous. We seek him because we know he carries just what we need. And Jesus says for some of our needs that pop up unawares, unexpected, at inconvenient times, that it is our determination to get a response from Jesus that opens the door where bread can be given in abundant provision. It forces me to begin our sermonic conversation by asking you the question: how many of your plans for your life have you perhaps given up on because you knew God was present, but you couldn't hear him? You couldn't sense any movement from him on your behalf or in response to your knock. It appeared to you that he was definitely present, he was definitely aware that you were in need, but didn't seem to move with any deliberate speed in order to unlock the door to provide what your plans were hoping for. And I don't want you to lose the image here. Jesus images what is perhaps initially hard to accept. And here is the strong reality for those of us who are in this room today, that everything spiritual is not always easy to swallow. So let's wrestle with the tension, because the tension is this: relationship with Jesus doesn't always stir him to respond to the passion of your plans. I guess that's my way of saying God doesn't get in a hurry because you're in a hurry. This text teaches clearly that relationship navigates you to the right door, but it doesn't always guarantee that the door will immediately swing open. our appealing to how close we are to God may not make a difference in terms of the timing for when that door swings open. What's normal at midnight is sleep and not a hurried search for bread. But what does stir things up according to this text, what does open doors to address the needs for the plans I have for my life is persistence. Let the church say persistence. It's epimony in the Greek. It's an insistence, a stubbornness, a tenacity. It's knocking until something happens. Billy Graham was right when he said, heaven is so full of answers to prayers for which no one ever bothered to ask. Have faith in the God of the dream. Let's ask God to bring the dream to completion. God's answer is ready. It's just always waiting for our personal and persistent request. The word to me that better describes persistence in the original Greek when it comes to developing the plan for your life is the word audacity. It means if you're going to discern and then steward the plan that God has clothed your life with, you need an insolent boldness to your faith, your prayers, and your disciplines. It's really an I shall not be moved kind of conviction in your soul. It says, I don't care whoever else doesn't think having audacity to knock at this door is the wise thing to do. I'm going to stay right here. And I'm going to keep on knocking because I know God has exactly what I need. I keep knocking because I know you're there. I know your family is asleep. I know it's a strange time. It may even be a stretched request, but I'm knocking because I have a need and I don't have any other plan. You are my plan. I don't intend to go down the street, round the corner, or attempt to knock at any other door. I ain't got but one plan, and since I know you can make the difference, I have the audacity and the boldness to keep knocking. I ain't moving until you answer. Mount Ararat, whatever your plans are for your life, I want to repeat it again this weekend. They will not happen by accident. You will not succeed by accident. You don't get ahead by accident. You don't discover revelation by accident. You don't drop in on success and progression by accident. These things happen only as you mature to offer your life in ministry to God by living a well thought out plan. And I know some of us in here, we're so spiritual that we think in order for us to have a plan, it must mean we're not just instinctively responding to God's leadership in our lives. But do you not know that before you entered into the human academy, you are the result of the plan God had in his mind before your parents got together? Let me say it again. You're not here by accident. You are the result of the plan God had. God imagined you, and then he intentionally planted you. He intentionally places you. He intentionally prioritizes you. He intentionally progresses you. He intentionally prevents you. He intentionally promotes you. I keep saying it until I feel better, because all I'm trying to tell you is that God says, I've got plans for you. And if God's got plans for your life, you need a plan for your life. You don't wake up tomorrow and stand still and just expect that things are going to happen. You wake up tomorrow and decide, I'm going to walk by faith and not by sight. I'm going to put my hand to the plow and I'm going to steward my responsibility. I'm going to work while it's day, knowing that night is going to come, and I'm going to walk my journey with neither post nor script. I'm going to walk leaning and depending on the Lord. Do I have any company in this room? Turn and tell somebody, you don't succeed by accident. You don't get out of debt by accident. You don't repair your credit by accident. You don't get healthy by accident. You don't have a sane mind by accident. You don't fight your battles by accident. And you don't get ahead in life by accident. Somebody say, I need a plan. And the enemy is guaranteed to attack every part of your life. the spiritual, the emotional, the relational, the spatial. He does it all in an attempt to conflict and corrupt and convolute the plans God has for us that ought to become the plans we have for ourselves. And when your plans meet frustration and fatigue and attack and misunderstanding and roadblocks and high mountains and dark valleys, your relationship points you to the right door upon which you ought to knock. Your need energizes you to go through that door, even if it's at midnight. But only your audacity will inspire you to stay at the door and keep knocking until God answers. So here's the truth. The truth is you can live your plans. You can fulfill your plans. You can enjoy the fruit of work in your plans. You can overcome the threats to your plans. You can benefit others through your plans, but only if you become so bold about your plans that you will not stop working to achieve them and will stay with it no matter what. You got to fight through what appears to be no response from God, doors that are locked. But I'm going to remain determined because I know he will not leave me out here knocking forever. Do y'all know Mount Ararat, how many of us need this? Because our faith is not only up to the establishment of a relationship with God. Our faith is not just about our needs being met and our knocks being answered, but our faith is about our bold risk-taking to work our plans despite the silence and the lack of response to the preceding knocks. Fulfilling our life plans is to struggle through our needs and to keep knocking because I'm not leaving until that bolt unlocks and I get this door between me and God open so I can get from God what I need. It's clear. It's clear to me that the text teaches a couple of things. Here's one I want to plant in you. Don't fatigue on your audacity. Let me say it again. Don't fatigue on your audacity. Say it with me. Don't fatigue on your audacity. You say it. Don't you ever quit on your persistence. Now, here is the conundrum. And I think we're at a place in our relationship where we can wrestle with these theological, confusing kind of ideas and try to work them out. Because here it is. If your faith hangs in there for you, there are times when you got to hang in there for your faith. Do you understand what I'm saying? If your faith pushes you to the door, you don't let your faith push you where you cannot respond with any audacity to stay there while the door is still locked. Don't fatigue on your audacity. If my faith drives me to knock, pushes me to travel to the door of provision, incites me to get up at midnight, then I ought to give my faith the audacity to not quit because I'm not getting the response that I desire. And here's the point. If you have discerned God's plan for your life, made initial steps, and offered initial action to bring about fulfillment to the plan, then you owe the faith that pushed you this far to not quit because it doesn't happen immediately.